Hello and welcome to Living Legacy Communication. I want to give you guys an idea of what living legacy communication is and what it means. My motto here at Living Legacy Communication is speak your mind, live your truth, and be unapologetic. And let me go into each of those things individually because they're broad statements that can mean a lot of different things to different people. So first, speak your mind. Speak your mind to me is all about image. It's all about breaking through the image of what are other people going to think if I say whatever you feel like you have to say. Because the sad truth is we all have so much wisdom and insight and great ideas to share with the world. Whether this is in your relationships, whether it's in a business context, or whether it's just you meeting a random stranger going about your day, there are often so many things that are going through our mind that we want to say, that we feel like can really add to the dynamic or to the conversation, but we hold back. And why do we hold back? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but a lot of the times, the reason we hold back is this person gonna like me if I say this? What are they gonna think of me if I say this? Will I come across as smart? Will I come across as capable? Will I come across as someone that they wanna be friends with? Will I come across as insert whatever the concern about your image is? And speaking your mind has nothing to do with being a bully. It has nothing to do with interrupting other people. It has nothing to do with coming across aggressive. What it has everything to do with is breaking through the fears that you have of how you will be perceived and not allowing concerns about your image, how other people see you, to get in the way of truly sharing your gifts with the world. And what this really comes down to from a communication standpoint is communicating with clarity. Communicating with clarity meaning it's not about necessarily speaking your mind saying, you look terrible today, and coming at someone, but having a solid balance between tact, communicating with tact, and communicating with honesty, so that you're not just speaking freely, not caring how it's going to come across, but you're not letting your concern about how it's going to come across completely prevent you from communicating in the first place. So from a communication standpoint, speaking your mind is all about balancing the desire and really the purpose of communicating with tact, because communicating with tact does have a purpose and you want your message to be able to be received. So there's value to tact, but oftentimes our concern about how it's going to be perceived or received causes us to hold back from communicating the message in the first place. So communicating with clarity is all about balancing those two things. The next aspect of living legacy communication is living your truth. Living your truth. This one, I mean, you hear it said all the time. You read, you see things on Instagram like live your truth, but what I really want to talk about is what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Well, in order to live your truth, you first get to be honest with yourself, because so many of us, and we all have it. I have struggled with this too, is being honest with yourself, taking a good hard look at the things that aren't easy to necessarily come to grips with, but also recognizing the things that you're great at and being honest with yourself and living your truth in your day-to-day life. So if your truth means that you're extremely passionate about animals and you're walking about your day, and let's say you see someone walking their dog and they're like really just mean to their dog, or they're treating their dog really poorly. If your truth is I care about animals, then living your truth means stepping in and saying something in that moment. And again, not saying it in a way like, hey, you're a fucking asshole, or like cursing them out. That's not what it's about. It's about being able to live your truth in a way that says, I'm not okay with this, and I'm going to let my communication in this moment represent the fact that my truth is I care about animals, right? So this then gets to the aspect of how does communication play into living your truth? Well, communication plays into living your truth in the sense that living your truth is all about communicating with confidence. Communicating with confidence. So my truth is I'm passionate about communication and how so much of our lives boils down to proper communication, right? So I'm making this video and I'm not holding it back. And going back to the example of someone who sees a dog being treated poorly, living your truth in that moment is about having the confidence to speak up and do so in a way that doesn't make you come across as meek or doesn't make you come across as timid, and also doesn't make you come across as an asshole, because you don't want to be either of those things. But speaking up with confidence and saying something like, excuse me, I really don't think it's okay for you to be treating your dog like that. Now, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but I know you love your dog, and there's a much more kind and tender and loving way to treat your animal. And my suggestion or my invitation to you is that you treat your dog with love because he loves you so much. Whatever it might look like for you. You know, that's just one example. But living your truth really comes down to, first, self-awareness, which is what I talked about in the beginning. Self-awareness, being honest with yourself, so that then you can then take those truths out into the world. And living your truth manifests in every single aspect of your life, right? Because in every intimate relationship that you have, there are certain truths that you know if you speak that truth, it will hurt the other person's feelings. In your professional life, there are certain truths about your job, about your work, about your position, about your title that you have, right? This is my truth, but you know that sharing those truths, it could get you into dangerous territory with certain people, and there could be certain consequences that cause you to not want to share those truths. So when it comes to communication, it's really about how to navigate those territories and not hold back your truths, to be able to live them. And you live them in your body language, you live them in your verbal communication, you live them in just the energy that you bring to any given interaction. And not holding back your truth, but also not sharing your truth in a way that pushes other people away. And again, that's a dance that we all get to do and that we all sometimes struggle with when it comes to proper communication. And the last element of living legacy communication is be unapologetic. This is one of the things that I notice most about the way people communicate in the world. They apologize for everything. And one of the really simple assignments that I give to a lot of my private coaching clients is to start a note on your phone and title that note Apologies, and to make a tally every time you apologize for something, and to do that for an entire week, and to look at the number of times you apologize for something throughout the week. And this one goes so deep, but what I really notice is that most people have fallen into the habit of apologizing for being themselves. So how can you speak your mind? How can you live your truth if you're constantly apologizing for being yourself, and you're constantly sending yourself that message that it's not okay to be myself? And the other element that this really comes down to is responsibility. Responsibility for this is who I am, and I'm taking responsibility for it. Because when we apologize, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to smooth things over and make sure that we don't hurt other people's feelings. But in doing that, it's taking fake accountability for doing something that we're really not sorry for. Because when you make that list of how many times you say sorry, you'll notice that probably 9 out of 10 times, you're really not that sorry for the thing that you apologize for. Now, there is the 1 out of 10 where you are sorry and you genuinely made a mistake. And in those circumstances, absolutely apologize, take responsibility, and take accountability for that thing. But 9 out of 10 times, if you really break it down and look at it, you're not even sorry for the thing that you're apologizing for. So you're taking fake accountability, and the other person knows it, and you're not taking responsibility for your own truth and for being yourself and letting that be okay. Letting it be okay. That's really the other element that plays into this, is honoring yourself, honoring your growth, honoring where you're at, honoring your truth, honoring the things you're passionate about. And every time we say we're sorry when we're not really sorry, it's denying who we are as people. And the element that this plays into when it comes to communication is honesty. Communicating with honesty and tying into self-awareness, being honest about who you are and honoring that by not saying, I'm sorry, every time we do something that could possibly be construed, maybe, as hurting another person's feelings, or as politically incorrect, or as something that we shouldn't say, right? Because we're constantly worried about what we should and shouldn't say, and as soon as we get any hint that something we said may have offended someone or may have been wrong in some way, we apologize for it. And it's natural, it's what we've been conditioned to do, but what it really does is it denies who we are. And that's not okay. That's not okay, because as soon as you deny who you are, you're holding yourself back and you're not sharing your gifts with the world. You're not honoring your gifts, and if you're not honoring them, then you're definitely not sharing them with the world. So that is what living legacy communication is all about. It's communicating with confidence, communicating with clarity, and communicating with honesty. And each of those little aspects of the motto, speak your mind, live your truth, be unapologetic, speaks to those 3 elements: clarity, honesty, and confidence. And when you can communicate with those things, and when your message is received, when you're paying attention to your communication such that you're balancing tact and authenticity, because you want to be tactful and you get to be authentic. So balancing those things and taking that into every element of your life, whether it's business, whether it's your personal relationships, whether it's your relationship with yourself, spirituality, religion, whatever it may be, whether it's community engagement, right? Because when we go into large groups of people, or all of a sudden we have all these concerns about how we're viewed, and our communication gets influenced by all those concerns and all the eyes that are on us, right? So it's when you're able to integrate all 3 of those elements into every aspect of your daily life, what you're really doing is you are creating a legacy simply with your presence. Simply your presence in the world, and your presence in each and every interaction and each and every conversation. That presence is what represents your legacy. So you leave an interaction or you end a conversation and you leave the other person thinking, whoa, who was that person? That was interruptive. The truth, the level of truth that they shared with me, it was interruptive. It's not something you hear every day. The level of confidence they had in their message and who they are, that was inspiring. And the level of clarity that they were able to communicate with, wow, I understood exactly what they were saying, exactly what they meant, and exactly what they didn't mean. Right? So every single time that you bring those three things into an interaction and you share yourself and your gifts with the world in a way that causes other people to be inspired. That is your legacy. And every time you do that, you are creating your legacy. You are living your legacy. And you're leaving a little taste of who you are and what you represent with the world. And that, my friends, is what living legacy communication is all about. So check out this page, watch my other videos, hear my other messages, and my intent is for you to be inspired, for you to recognize the value of communication, and for you to truly be able to share your gifts with the world. Have a fantastic day.